As an independent member of the MBC Alliance, I'm delighted to welcome all of you to the San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium and to this extraordinary workshop. While the Alliance is thrilled to partner with Dr. Cardozo and the ABC Global Alliance, we're also grateful that we were asked to participate in what we hope will be a meaningful and instructive discussion. So I'm here to represent the patient voice and perspective. I really can only express my own, as we all know that patients are different from one another. Let me see. Here we go. Oh, this is my whole story, which is just too long, so I'm just going to make it short. My story is somewhat unique in that I was a practicing obstetrician gynecologist when I was diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer at age 43. And then 22 years later, 6 months into my retirement, I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer to my spine and pelvis. I used to teach medical students, residents, about communicating bad news, about shared decision-making, and about how to properly do informed consent. Well, now I'm on the receiving end of a lot of this, and I'm happy to share with you my view of the patient perspective. We all have had different life experiences, different baseline knowledge, especially about cancer and metastatic disease. Some of us are going to take notes during our meetings. Some want to record what's going on with, the conversation with the physician. Some of us are going to bring a partner to listen and to share the experience, and some of us are going to arrive alone for the visits. Perhaps having had a prior bad experience when she brought a friend and watched the doctor talk more to her friend and her partner than to the patient herself. So despite all our differences, if I did a poll of patients and patient advocates, I bet I could find the one word we would all agree is the key to successful communication with us, and that word is listen. The best way to communicate with us and with patients is actually to listen. Listen to what we need, what we want, and what we expect. Studies have shown that even when a doctor asks an open-ended question, something like, what brings you here today? It only takes 11 to 18 seconds for that doctor to interrupt the patient. That's astounding. Not the best way to start a relationship between the patient and the physician. And the electronic health record doesn't help us at all. Some doctors just get tied to the screen. You're looking at asking yes/no questions to fill in the box. There's a drop-down answer. You're looking for specific words. It really doesn't help with expressing what people need. So I really encourage you all to pay attention to listening. I think that's the key to real shared decision-making. I also want to remind you of the harsh nature of what you're about to discuss with the patient. Sometimes we're shocked to learn that we have MBC. Sometimes we suspect that we have it, but nobody wants it. So our minds go off in a dark direction. Does this mean I'm dying? Does it mean that I won't be able to see my child graduate or attend a wedding? Or for some of us, will I even be able to have children? After being told of a cancer diagnosis, we only hear about 10% of the information that is shared. And this is where having written materials in the patient's primary language to send home with us can be really helpful. A few statements about specific language, and as English is the only language I speak, I'm going to be addressing that. First, the patient doesn't fail the drug or the clinical trial. The trials and the drugs fail the patient. Second has to do with militaristic language that we often use. We hear things about fighting and warriors. Some of us do not feel we're battling cancer all the time. We're not fighting, and when we die, we didn't lose the battle or the war. Personally, I've been living with cancer for 30 years. And while I hope to live longer, I actually feel that I've already won. I know I've been lucky, and that's why I do what I do in the advocacy world. I try to speak up for those of us who either can't do advocacy like this or are no longer with us. And the last thing I want to share is this. Don't be afraid to tell us the truth. We want the truth, and there's no need, that's the only way we can trust what you're going to tell us. And there's no need to sugarcoat things, but that doesn't mean you can't be kind and compassionate. It just means we know if you're hiding something, like a progression, or if there's really no other options and it's time to discuss end-of-life issues. Personally, I think it's never too soon to talk about end-of-life issues with a patient who has MBC. How else can you help her get things in order? At my cancer center, we have a program called Death Over Dinner, during which death is treated as a kitchen table topic. And it's among family, friends, and people discuss it over a meal. And you'd be surprised at how much a patient appreciates the opportunity to discuss this, not to try to run away from the inevitable. So for the patients, I recommend just speaking up. Let the provider know what you want, what you need, and how you're feeling. They're not mind readers. And you don't have to be compliant or be the good patient. Of course, it's appreciated if you're kind and respectful, but you don't have to agree with the plan. If it's not what you want, express yourself, and you guys can have that's part of shared decision-making. If it's not convenient for you, tell the provider. It's really helpful to be prepared for your visit. Come with a list of questions, list of problems, your side effects, and your complaints, because otherwise it's hard to remember everything you want to say, and we all feel foolish when we get home and forgot to bring up the most important issue. If you have questions about end-of-life issues, bring it up. The doctor, the healthcare provider doesn't have to do this. Sometimes it's even harder for them to bring up the issues. So I especially suggest asking for palliative care consults early in treatment. It's never too early to meet with someone from the palliative care team who can help with symptoms, especially with pain, and to make sure you're comfortable. In today's session, we're going to hear advice and tips from 3 experienced physicians, and then we're already broken up into our smaller tables. We were hoping to have an advocate and a physician, a healthcare provider at every table. I think we have more people than we have facilitators, so we're going to just do the best we can when we get to those sessions and have discussions amongst yourselves at the tables. And at that point, we'll talk about challenges and share insights to improve communications.